So I've been living in Mexico for the past year and I've been studying Mexican history, indigenous language to better understand my own identity in ways that weren't previously accessible. Now, it really seems like people enjoy when I share my learning, so today I'm going to be sharing the history of the name Oaxaca and its indigenous origins. So first, we're going to be breaking down the morphemes or the individual components of the word because the Nahuatl language lends itself to morphology. Oaxaca originates from Huaxin, Yacatl, and K, forming Huaxaca. Then through the influence of Spanish colonization, the phonetics becomes Oaxaca, 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 Oaxaca. Now this phonetic transformation isn't abnormal. Like with Texas, it was originally Texas and then it became Tejas. Mexico references the Mexica. Jalisco was originally Xalisco. Now, not so fun fact here, but Texas comes from the Garo people, essentially meaning ally or friend. And we've recently learned that Comanche was in reference to enemy, so was Apache referencing enemy, even though those weren't their original names. The Spanish were highly incentivized in their divide and conquer strategy. And I just want people to reflect, briefly that sometimes when it comes to people that are very similar to you, it can be easier to argue with them or to fight them, but who does that ultimately benefit, right? Now let's start to understand what these individual components mean. So we have the huaxin here, which is a large tropical tree that produces edible pods. This is in reference to the guaje tree, and I want you to remember this image because it's going to be important later. And the guaje tree produces guajes, which are these legumes that are rich in calcium and protein, so really important for sustenance. And as you can see here, slightly south of where the Mexica were, where the Nahua-speaking groups are, you have the Zapotecs and the Mixtecs in Guerrero and Oaxaca and Puebla. I also want you to keep this position and this location in mind as we'll understand it a little more soon. Next, we have the Yacatl, which means nose or point or something in front of. Again, all of these parts play an important role once we combine them together, so let's remember this. And lastly, we have the locative suffix of k, and this is following certain consonant vowel rules, so it's not go, it's k. So the combination of words means at the point where the guaje trees begin to grow. So remember, the Mixtecs and the Zapotecs spoke different languages. They didn't speak Nahua, and this is essentially a consequence of colonization, so it's an exonym. It's not a name that they gave themselves. However, from the perspective of the Mexica or Nahua-speaking groups, this is where the guaje trees essentially started to grow, Oaxaca. Then when we observe visual lexicons and references to Oaxaca, you have this character here, this human with these guaje plants growing out of the nose region. And even without the human configuration, you still have it at the top of the nose or pointing out of the nose. Now I'm running out of time here, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And I would really recommend checking out my work if you did enjoy this video. And if you enjoyed this video again, I would appreciate a like and a follow. All right, folks, peace.